The stakeholder have asked their questions. We have also asked our question. Now they've given us the data. But before we go into our data, we need to know something. So I'm just going to show you like the data, then I would show you like some things about like what you need to know. So this particular module 2.3 is understanding the raw data set. This is before data is being analyzed. And I might be mentioning some terms here that might look a little bit unfamiliar. If they already sounding unfamiliar, I'm going to recommend you to go check out my other course, which is the data analysis techniques. In that video, I spoke extensively. I started from the basis of statistics to explain what you need to know about like some analysis, mean, median, and mode when we run some bar charts, pie charts. I would say that course is a prerequisite to this course actually, and especially if you feel like a little bit lost from some of the conversations that we might have in this course. So go check it out and you can come back to watching this video. So a data set, I'll try to explain some concepts that I think might people might not be familiar with, but a data set is basically a data. So we try to just call it a data set. So what happened was that these Jjay Health Services, they gave us four different data. So they gave us a fact claim, or forget whatever is fact and dime in front. So they gave us a data called claims data, and they called a data member data, they called the data provider data, and they called the data plan data. And they they are using what we call a star schema. You're like, what do you mean by star schema? Don't worry. But just think about a star. When I show you the next image, you understand what a star schema is. So the claim is a fact table, while the other tables are dimension table. There are different type of schema. I'm just going to stick with a star schema because this data is not about more about data structure. And I know I want to go or explain what I think you need, like the basic explanation. So this is what a star schema looks like. You see how it looks like a star, but this is not like a real star, right? So the way think about a star looks, where you have these and you have something in the middle and all that. So what it's saying is that we have a we have a data in the middle that all the data sort of connect to. You have a data in the middle that all the data connect to, and a lot of organization that are quite huge would have their data structure in it, maybe in this kind of approach, or maybe they might have like a more complicated schema. So imagine that somebody, because in an ideal world, when you have a member will go to the doctor multiple times, right? So let's have that. So let me show you why a star schema is a good option. A member goes to the doctor, like goes to the provider, made a claim 10 times. So what would have happened was that if everything was in this member data, it would have been way longer. But imagine that we had a plan ID for that member. For some reason, we updated that plan ID. So if that member had visited the hospital like 10 times, we would have to change that plan ID 10 times. But because information is right here, we just have to change information one time, so it sort of reflects all the time. So what this task schema just does is that whenever you have data like a multiple part like this, they have to be like a relationship. They have to be a way you can get okay from information year to year to year to year, and the linking is like this sort of big brother or this modern father that has a link to everybody. But we're going to talk more about like let's say like the data for real, and you can have another example. And the reason why the claim data is called a fact table is because it's one connecting to multiple data sources. So right here we see that we do have the flat fact claim. And one of the things we want to do is that we want to just have a deep dive study into like this data set. This is a little bit like a lot of information, but we're going to understand this in a minute. Now, so all of in this claim data, we have the claim line. That was what I was talking about. So when you go visit like the doctor, right? What happened is that you would have like multiple things that they would request for. They might say, okay, because they spoke to you, that's $100. Because they give you the injection, that's under $500. So all of that would be like instead of them like giving multiple claims, so there's a way like claim as like hierarchy, right? Someone can be like, okay, this claim number is 001, But because I would not have 001, we can have A, B, C, D, but not necessarily like that. So we have the subscriber ID. This is like the person who like is the owner of like the insurance, because the way health insurance work is that my child or my dependent or my spouse might also be beneficial or beneficiary of that health insurance. So what happened is, so the father has a subscriber ID of SUB 1001, but they actually have like two dependents. So my member ID is going to be MEM 1001. My dependent is also going to have a member ID of 1002, 1003, depending on the number of dependents I have. However, they will all have the same subscriber ID as myself. So if I want to know how much did this subscriber spend, so we're just going to add what I spent and what the two other persons spent. So we all have the same subscriber ID. But if we care about, okay, how much did individual members spend, so we're going to look at, okay, um based off of the member level. So you want to know, so what do you mean by subscriber and member? Subscriber is the person who, like, the insurance is their name, and the member, like, it can be the subscriber, it can be the dependent. So if I was really one on that, I'm going to have my subscriber ID separate and the member ID. But most times in insurance, we kind of analyze based off of the member ID. Now, provider ID is like, okay, this is the doctor that we visited. The plan ID is basically like, what plan are you on? Okay, this person's on plan 0, plan 6. Maybe these plans have like different pricing model, right? So maybe somebody who is sick or who is always sick, it's better you get plan 10 so that when you go to the doctor, you will not have any issues. So service dates is like, okay, the dates that you can look at this place so that you can see what's happening. Service date is the date that the service are called. The claim receipt dates, that's the date that you need to understand all of this, right? So it's very important. So it will give us insight into like how we do our analysis. This is the date that the health insurance company received the claim. This is the pay date. Remember, this data is for the health insurance company. This is diagnostic code, procedure code. Because what happens is that before the doctor can get their money back, they have to give all this information to the health insurance company to know, okay, is this actually a true service? This is claim status. Was it paid or denied, or was it pending? Place of service, okay, inpatient, outpatient. One of the things you also need to know is that we are starting to say like missing information. We see right here, this is supposed to be CLM 7, but it's already 7 alone. So some record are missing. There is also like build amount. So build amount is the amount that the provider asked. That's the doctor said, okay, this is what you're going to pay, right? And the allowed amount is the amount that the health insurance was like, oh, we can pay or whatever, and the paid amount is what they eventually paid, and this is the member cost share. This is what they paid. Then we have this network flag. So if they are in network or out network. So one of the things you also need to know is there's also like, this is like inconsistencies. So this is in network, this is in data analysis. In and in network is not the same thing, even though we can assume that they should be the same. So we'll need to clean this data for it to be uniform. So if you are going to use in, we have to use in or true. If you are going to use in network, we have to use in network also or true. So even though it could even be case sensitive for some type of like analysis software. So that's this is like provider specialty, and this is the doctor notes, and that's that about that. So let's move on to the other data set that we have. So we have dimension the member data. So this is showing us that we do have, so you have access to this. So try to just check the data yourself. The same thing where the relationship, like I said, if it's the spouse or the child, what's the gender. We see here, this is not clean, right? We have male F, and some of them were like we know M is male, but we need to make them consistent. So this is date of birth, age. This age is saying -10, which is not correct. Nobody has a negative age. So sometimes analysis is just about thinking. So this is the enrollment start date, the day they start, this is the day the plan is ending, this is the plan type. Are they on HMO, EPO? This is the risk score. So this probably was calculated somehow already, which the JJL service already give us what the risk score is. This is the smoker flag if they do smoke. This is the chronic condition. This is like the city they live in. So we already see that for geography, we just have like city and state. We don't have things like zip code or whatever it is. So that's something that you also have to be aware of, just in case the stakeholder wanted to analyze on that. So you need to know you didn't provide zip code information. I will need that to do the analysis. The other thing is like the plan. So the plan is like, you see, this one is a little bit shorter. It tells us, okay, for every plan ID, this plan ID is actually supported by this particular company. This is the employer group. So supported by this particular company. And this most of these folks stays in the south region. This is when the plan is starting. There's also like the metal tier level. So that's that about this particular plan data. There is then the star schema that I showed us already. So you can see like how they are related. But this is a clear data dictionary, and a data dictionary is a data that describes a data. So in case you're curious, so this the first claim they kind of explain, okay, this is the data type, this is the description of what it means. So because some things you might not probably know about, right? There's also like the dimension member. So this is not full, but this just explains to us some of the information I showed you already. Dimension plan, this is the dimension provider. This is the relationship summary. So the relationship summary says that how is this data related. So for for the for the dimension table and the facts table, the key or the relationship between both of them is the member ID. For the dimension provider and the facts table, the relationship is the member ID. So the insurance company is going to provide you with this. So this is just saying that how do we connect all this data together based off of this picture, right? How do we connect the data together? So based on the picture that we saw right here, um, how do we connect the data together? And it's already telling us that, oh, the way you're connecting them is this member ID, primary key, and all that. So um that's that about like our data set. And we it was we will talk about like, what are the project expectation and limitations since we've understood the data set. See you in the next video.